After 8, we'll call our meeting to order. First up, looking for approval of the agenda. Motion and support, changes or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public comments. Public, you have 5 minutes to comment. Give us your name when you step up, and I see nobody stepping up. Public comment is closed. Committee items. First up is the minutes from the August 11th meeting. We have a motion. If we could have a support. Have a support. Any changes needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up are the appointments. I believe we have 2 appointments. First is the Region 2 Planning Commission. That still has Teresa Abbey as a current member with still no applicants. Mike, can I ask where we're advertising these? This one's been open for quite a while, I think. Are we running an ad actually, or just in the news articles? Okay, because this one's been open for quite some time, I think, has it not? Yeah, 2 or 3 months, yeah. Okay. We'll have to continue to leave it open. Next up is the Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Committee. The first is 1 public member, and the applicants are Gail Mahoney, Carl Rice, and Mike Butchert. We could have a nomination. Any other nominations for the first slot? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Carol will be recommended for the first position. The second one would be another public member, which is an alternate spot. And the applicants would be Gail Mahoney and Michael Butchert.
I'd like to nominate Gail Mahoney.
Any other nominations? I would nominate Michael Butchert. Any other nominations? Carrie Ann, could you call the roll for voting?
Commissioner Leitner? Commissioner Alexander?
Mahoney.
Commissioner Placzek? Commissioner Elwell?
Butchert. And we have a simple majority, which Dave's vote wouldn't change that, so Gail Mahoney's name will be forwarded as a recommendation from committee. Next up is the Conservation District Biannual Report. Is there somebody here from the, there we are.
For the alternate.
Good morning. My name is Lori Fitzgibbons. I'm the district manager of the Conservation District. You should have all received my report of things that have been going on since I was here last in March. I'm just going to go over some of our big points. We have a lot that has been going on. I guess our big thing last year is our tree sale, or this year is our tree sale. Really? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, okay. Our tree sale is our big fundraiser for the year. With a bad sale, my hours have to be decreased. It pretty much pays my wages. Last year, because of the winter, we were a little worried. Normally we have about 300 customers. Sales ended with about 220, so we were a little bit worried. But we advertised the night before the pickup. We used all our free advertising and ended up getting over 100 new customers to show up the day of the sale. We actually had a line out the door, so in the morning. So it actually, we were pretty close, if not a little bit over where we were last year. So it was a successful sale. The native plant sale that we did this year, we held with the community. It was the community garden event this year. It was the first time that we participated with the Men's Garden Club and Master Gardeners. We made about the same amount of money as we did when we do our own sale, but we had twice as many customers and a lot of exposure, so we're probably going to keep doing that. We are selling plat books in the office now, the new 2014 plat books. We've had a lot of requests for those, so that's going well also. A few new things that we did this year, we did the Arbor Day celebration at Potter Park Zoo, and the Youth Jamboree, which was yesterday, and that's why I have sunburn on half of my face. They were great events, lots of huge, just this half, because the sun was on this side. Any more questions? Those were, basically we did the water quality indicators. Lots of kids come through, great exposure for the Conservation District. It was at the Lake Hudson Recreational Area down by Clayton, Michigan. So that was good exposure for the district. The Lenawee County Conservation District was also there. There was a lot of vendors there. It was a great time. This year at Project Red, the Conservation District acted as the teacher liaison again, and we had another record number of students this year with almost 1,300 students, so that was a big deal. One huge thing that we did this year is we received a scrap tire collection grant from the DEQ, and we were able to hold 6, or I think it was ended up being 7 scrap tire collections throughout Jackson County. We worked with a couple townships, and then did the 2 biggest cleanups right here in the city. And we collected, it says 10,000 tires in the report, but it was probably closer to 12,000 tires. We're going to hope for that grant again next year, and we're going to hopefully work with the townships and do like little sub-grants to them so they can kind of handle their own cleanups, so it's not so much on us. But those were hugely successful, and we got a lot of thank yous from the county residents on that one. It's amazing how many tires people just have in their backyard, so that was a big deal. As far as volunteers, this year we had 84 volunteers volunteering over 400 hours of service to the district. The big one was the scrap tire cleanup. We had over 50 people at each, not 50 each, but 50 people total at the cleanups. They were a huge help. We had, for our last tire cleanup, we had a line of cars in our parking lot stretched all the way down around the parking lot, snaked all the way through the intersection at Jackson Street. We actually called the city police on ourselves in case they wanted to send somebody down to direct traffic. So it was crazy for a while, but it was a great success. As far as grants this year, we received our CTI grant. We received that back. It was taken away from a lot of districts because the Department of Agriculture screwed up their budget. So we were all penalized for it. We did get that back. We got a soil conservation engineer in the office now. That's a $65,000 grant. And we received a MICOR grant for almost $8,000, and that basically helps us with our current Adopt-A-Stream program. We've grown the Adopt-A-Stream program enough where we don't have enough equipment for all the volunteers. So we put in for the MICOR grant to help us buy more equipment. We're buying microscopes and more nets and waders and lots of things to expand that program. We also got a river cleanup volunteer grant. That's basically just to thank the volunteers that we do get. All it is they give us a bunch of money to buy things for volunteers. So we worked with the Grand River Environmental Action Team for their cleanup, which is coming up Saturday, and we bought t-shirts and little phone cases for all of the waterproof phone cases for all the volunteers for this Saturday. And also, as you all may know, the Conservation District received support from the county for a recycling coordinator. That is our big thing right now, trying to get that going. We've had several meetings with trash haulers companies in Jackson and recycling companies. And we have a meeting with the Green School coordinator on September 23rd. We're working on a website, so all recycling information about everything in Jackson County is all in one main place. We have designed a logo, and I think everybody liked the logo. If you haven't seen it, it's just the county symbol or the county seal with recycling arrows around it. And we're not only encouraging more people to recycle, but we're trying to educate the people that are recycling on how to do it correctly, not as much contamination. And we're going to be working with, like I said, with the Green Schools program to educate the students. And the Conservation District is also taking the lead to reestablish the Jackson Area Outdoor Coalition, and we are the lead on the Earth Day celebration in the park this year, which we are going to make a recycling theme. We're going to have a shred truck come so the kids can walk through the shred truck. Some upcoming events. We're one of the sponsors of the Jackson County Family Farm Fest, which is coming up on September 20th. There's a lot of stuff coming up. I'm just going to hit on a few of them. And Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day is on September 27th. We're listed as a sponsor this year. Next year we might be the lead organization on that through the recycling project through the county. We will be there assisting this year, kind of seeing how things work, what doesn't work, and getting some ideas from that. We are also working with Recycle Jackson for a latex paint e-waste collection and a shred truck at the beginning of October to be held over at Recycling Jackson. And we are having our own Grand River cleanup on October 18th. I think it's in the Rives Junction area, the Rives Township area. So that's a lot, but if anybody has any questions.
John?
If I remember correctly, on the scrap tires, you were only able to take a truck full. Did you have to turn anyone away?
At the township ones, we didn't have to turn anybody away. At the first one that we did in the city was in July. We only had enough room for 2,000 tires in the trailers that we had, and we did have to turn away probably about 25 cars. We gave them our cards, and at that point, that was supposed to be our last collection day, but we finagled it where we got another two trailers, so we gave them all our cards, and we called them all, and they all came back and were able to bring their tires back to the August collection. In August, we did fill both trailers. Again, it just happened, we filled the trailer when the last person came through. We shut the doors, went to lunch, came back, and somebody had come and dumped 100 more tires on the outside of the trailer. So those tires are stacked up at my husband's shop right now, and we'll just save those for the next collection. But it was a success. We didn't have, and usually with the tire cleanups, you do have a lot of people seeing the trailers there, knowing what was there, and coming and dumping tires. That was the only, out of 6 or 7 collections, the only time that happened.
Phil?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have I need the date and location for the household hazardous waste. I mean, not the date. I've got the date. I need the time and the location.
The time is 9 to 1. It's by appointment only, and it's at the Jackson County Health Department. They're doing the appointment thing this year, so there's not a mad rush of people all at once that they can't handle, so they're going to see how it goes. It's kind of a trial run they're doing.
Do you have a number for the appointment set up? I'm getting interest out in the outlying area.
Okay, I can send you the file. It's all being set up. All the marketing and everything is being done by the health department. So I believe it should be on their portion of the website. I'm not exactly sure what they've done yet. I've handed out a bunch of flyers, but I'm not sure exactly what they've done.
Do you know the contact number for appointment, or you don't?
No,
know
I
that?
don't have that on me.
Yeah, if you'd send that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Next up is the Airport DEQ Consent Agreement, and our fine airport manager is here.
Thank you. I come to you with a draft and proposed consent agreement with the DEQ, between the DEQ and the County of Jackson. And this consent agreement is a result of some activity that took place in the winter of 2012 and the spring of 2013 in a joint clearing and grubbing project on the 68 acres owned by the County of Jackson, and jointly there were about 20-some acres, I think, that Blackman DDA owns. So the clearing and grubbing was intended to return this land back to agricultural activity, and Mead Brothers was the contracting entity, and they, during this process, got into some regulated wetlands on airport property, and as near as we can figure, cleared and grubbed about 5 or 6 acres of wetlands that were regulated and determined to be regulated quite a while ago when there was an environmental assessment done for the runway project. I can tell you that 2012, if you recall, was the year of the drought, and doing this clearing in the winter, it wasn't as evident as it is today where those wetlands are. So as a result, we received a notice of violation in March of 2013, and a draft consent agreement in December of 2013. And I can tell you that the draft consent agreement, the initial one from the DEQ, is remarkably different than the one being offered here. They wanted us to restore 20 acres, disc it, kill it twice with herbicide, and plant it with a very expensive wetland mix. And so, with the help of our consultant, DLZ, and several negotiating meetings, we were able to, I believe, bring it back to something that's more reasonable. So it simply calls for planting of shrubby trees, shrubs and trees, and some monitoring, and along with a fee, DEQ fee initially. So I included in the packet a draft budget. I would propose a planning to take place in the spring, and I offer that to you for your consideration.
Commissioners, any questions on the consent agreement? We'd be looking for a motion to send this to the full board then.
I'll move. Support.
Motion and support. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Front of the court, quarterly report. Morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm going to make this go away because it's kind of bugging me, if I can. I can't get it though. I guess the mouse doesn't. Wrong mouse, maybe? Ah, there we go. There we go. Okay. Wanted to start out by updating you on the two positions that I requisitioned the last time I was here. We were able to fill those positions with internal bids. So the full-time position has been filled internally by our former bench warrant officer, Jackie Morris, and she is up and running through her probationary period and is working well, so we're happy to have her on the casework staff. And we also had an internal bid from one of our accounting staff, Melissa Fountain, who just completed her probationary status, so she is now up and running as well. And we're going to continue to finalize their training, get them going with all the aspects of the casework, because the probationary period is 14 days, so they can only learn so much in 14 days. But they are both high producers and excellent staff, and so we're happy to have them on the casework team moving forward with our goals. We are having a Spring Arbor Masters in Social Work intern come in for September through June. They are going to focus on a lot of the parenting time aspects. And just as a reminder, the parenting time piece is the piece of our job that's not federally funded. So that's more focused on the county part that is funded. So it's kind of volunteer work for the part that we don't get the funding for. So they're going to focus on the parenting time, the highly litigious cases, the cases that end up in court. We're going to try to do some troubleshooting with those cases, try to get parties to come together in a more therapeutic approach and see if we can keep them out of the courthouse and more problem-solving techniques. So we're excited to have that person in. The support services unit and the accounting department that we drew from to upgrade those positions, I checked on their status as far as productivity, and both those teams are doing well. Our hold times and wait times for our customer service unit has not decreased at all, so we're happy with that. So they haven't suffered as a result of losing a staff member to the casework position. And the accounting team, they've also managed the change as well, so they're staying with their productivity levels. So we're really happy with that. The next piece that I wanted to talk to you about, and I had mentioned this before, was the change from Data Warehouse 1 to Data Warehouse 2. We report our, different factors to the federal government for our incentives to get the federal funding. And in the past, we've used Data Warehouse 1, and I say we as in the state of Michigan uses Data Warehouse 1. And part of the problem with Data Warehouse 1 is that no one could really replicate how the numbers were created to submit to the federal government. It all seemed kind of smoke and mirrors, and nobody really seemed to understand it. But it was the state, and that's how they did it. Well, the new Office of Child Support Director, I believe it was, said, no, we need to have a better system for this. So they've switched to what's now called Data Warehouse 2. Well, as a result of that, some changes are going to happen to our federal incentive percentages. And in my report, you can see the slide that I have in there. Data Warehouse 1, this is a snapshot of where we are right now. Data Warehouse 2, if they took our numbers exactly as they stand right now, you'd be able to see the change. So the PEP, which is paternity establishment, that's the number of cases where we have open cases and paternity has been established on these cases. We're currently at 95.4% and we're down to 91.9%, so down 3.1%. The second category is support order percentage. So that's the number of open cases that we have with support orders attached to it. So these are clients that have said, I don't have an order, I need an order. And so we open a case and we're waiting for the judge to actually issue an order for those parties. So that percentage also went down as well. The third item is child support percentage, and that's the percent of current child support that's charging that we collect. So if you add up all the current child support charges, we're currently collecting 65% of them, and that actually is going to go up to 65.5%. The last one is the arrears percentage, and that's a little different because it's the number of cases where we are collecting arrears on. So it's not a percentage of the arrears collected, but that case is getting at least $1 collected towards the arrearage. So that one actually increased 3.3%. Part of the change is how they count the number of cases, so the denominator goes down, the numerator goes up. So we're looking at how we're going to manage some of these changes. The two factors where our percentages have gone down, the state has gone down as a whole, and so the state is working with us, providing us with reports, cleanup efforts, ways that we can improve those percentages. And I know at this point in time, our support order percentage is darn near close to where it was at the Data Warehouse 1 level. So we're doing a good job of getting those back to where it was. And we're happy that the other two percentages went up, so that's a good thing for us. Some of those are also related to the prosecutor's office, so we're having to work with them as well, because obviously we don't control establishing cases. That's done through the prosecutor's office, but it's part of our funding, so we have to work together as a team with that department, and they're working hard on it as well. I also laid out some goals for our staff for the next upcoming years as far as what I want to see the front of the court develop into, and I wanted to share those goals with you as well. First, I want to improve our incentive factors from the Data Warehouse 1 to Data Warehouse 2. I want to get those that are down back up to where they were. Second, I want to improve our incentive factors to beat the three counties that are closest in size in comparison, and that's Washtenaw County, Berrien County, and Calhoun. We are first in some, third in others, second, so we're kind of all over the board in our percentages, but I want us to be the top with our comparable counties, and I think that we can certainly do that. I want our support reviews completed within 60 days. I think that's manageable now with the increased case worker staff that we have. I don't think it was possible before, but I think it's possible now. I want to reduce our client appointment response time. Currently, it's a 2-week. You can get an appointment with your caseworker within 2 weeks, and I want to have that reduced to within 48 hours you can speak to your caseworker. So I want clients to be able to have access to their caseworker or enforcement team a lot faster. Parenting time complaints, I want them processed within 5 business days. Currently, they're not, and that's unacceptable in my mind, so we're going to get that reduced to at least 5 days. And then we're going to be looking at the reports that are provided to us from the state to maximize our efforts on enforcement to get our incentive factors where they need to be the top, because part of the incentives is related to how well everybody else in the state is doing too. So if we only jump up this much, but all the other counties jump up this much, we're not going to get as much of the pie as we should. So we have to make sure that we're still competitive with the other counties as well. And finally, I want to create and implement an enforcement matrix to incorporate alternative enforcement remedies and efficient enforcement. I don't want cases to fall into black holes where they don't see the light of day for years, or not think outside the box on ways to get paying cases or troubleshooting, things like that. So I want to make sure that we're using all the tools necessary. And that can be from license suspension to booting to mediation, things like that. So I want to make sure that we're keeping all of our options open and not just getting stuck in a rut of this is how Jackson County enforces our cases. So, any questions about that?
Dave?
When you're comparing those 3 counties, 4 counties, is that caseload size? Because Washtenaw County is population-wise a lot bigger than us.
The caseload size.
Okay.
Yep.
Then the other question is on your, the chart that shows the changes, is there any reason why the percentage change isn't the difference between the 2 percentages?
I'm not quite understanding what you're
Well, you
saying.
got 94% and 91.9% does not equal 3.1.
Did I do the math wrong? Oh, that's my error, then I did the math wrong.
I don't think any of them are correct.
Oh, I'll have to double check my math then.
So I was just wondering
Okay.
if there was something else thrown in that's not here.
No, that was simply my typo then.
Okay.
I have to use a better calculator than my brain. So I apologize.
Phil?
Morning.
Morning.
You talk about all the collection, different types of collection you're doing. Are you still using the pay or stay?
Yes.
Are you having to use it often, or is it like last resort?
It really depends. We have approximately, I want to say, between 150 and 200 payers that are on the program as of right now, and that's stayed pretty consistent over the last 3 years. It's been widely successful. We have some payers that actually request to go back on it once they've completed it, and we were like, well, you don't have to, you don't have to go to jail or pay, you could just pay. And they say, no, if I don't have that threat of going to jail, I won't pay. So, hey, yeah, okay. But it's not for everybody, and it's not the best solution for everybody, but it is an effective tool, and it comes at the point in time when they're going to court and could potentially go to jail for not paying their child support. So it is a last resort. We don't look at cases where payers are paying consistently and say, well, we're going to do this to you so you can go to jail, or, it's for payers that are having trouble paying every week.
What is, just shoot from the hip here, the success of the pays versus the weekend occupants? Are we at 90%, or are we near 100, or?
I know we very rarely have people staying for the weekend. Typically, they're staying for the weekend if they happen to go to jail on another charge. Maybe they were drunk and disorderly, and so they ended up there, and they're going to stay for the weekend. We have had some people that, especially in the wintertime, if it's a slow week and they can't make the payment, they'll stay for the weekend, and then they pay the next week. Very rarely do we have someone that digs their heels in and just goes to jail every weekend. It maybe takes once or twice, and then they realize that it's manageable.
Okay, thank you.
And those that, honestly, those that say, you know what, I can't do it, and it's week after week, we bring them back before the court to figure out if there's a problem. So we don't want people to not be successful. If the amount is too high, or if there's, a problem like, maybe they're ill, or they have a family member, or there's an issue, we're going to bring them back before the court to get that resolved. So.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, any additional questions? None? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have the sheriff new dishwasher issue and Under Sheriff Cool.
Good morning. The current dishwasher at the Chandler Road Correctional Facility for the food service, its failure was not anticipated. It cannot be repaired. It's going to need to be replaced. We have chosen Stafford Smith out of Lansing as the lowest bidder for a similar item which will serve our needs at the facility, which will process the dishes, cups, etc. that we get coming in from the inmates in the food service. We're going to accomplish this purchase out of already currently budgeted county jail funds, and we're just going to get some tighter on a little bit of other things towards the end of the year. We'll also draw down what money we have remaining in the SCAP grant, which is about $2,500, a little more than that, and we will apply those funds to accomplish this purchase and any negative impacts that this purchase may have on the existing line items, we can certainly accomplish by our overages and revenue. Again, we expect and we are on track to exceed the budgeted or targeted revenue within the county jail budget.
Questions from any commissioners? If not, we'd be looking for a motion.
I know this is going to sound cold, okay, but when I read this, I wondered why they can't just wash their own dishes.
Well, yes, we actually currently are. We have to use a three-sink method because we have to establish certain sterilization guidelines. We're not inspected by the health department, but we target industry standards as what's accepted in this type of facility. We obviously don't want disease and illness running rampant. We don't want to be the next Aramark Department of Corrections. So to accomplish that, by hand washing them, we need to use a three-sink method. We use a chemical sterilization process. So if you can imagine washing that many dishes, each inmate's given about 4 items with their meal, 200 inmates, 3 meals a day. The kitchen trustees who are in charge of helping make the food, mix the food, all these other things, they can't keep up with washing the dishes and establishing this food. Then we fall behind on food service times, then food is late, inmates become angry. It's just a very complicated process. Plus, after you hand wash, these 2,400 dishes, there's nowhere to put them. It can't go through, the current style is it goes through the conveyor dishwasher, they load their own items in. There doesn't need to be somebody there having to tend to every dish. The inmates put them in, they come out, they're washed, they put away. Having to do this, we need to collect the dishes, so we're very tight on manpower as far as the kitchen trustees having to do this. But yes, logically, that's a good question.
Julie?
I'll make a motion to purchase the Stafford Smith dishwasher.
Is there support? Motion and support. Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Under Sheriff.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning. I'm not sure, Adam, what am I, sorry. I sent it to you guys. Is it not in there?
Yeah, we can get to it.
I'm sorry. That's okay.
Typically, everybody brings their own. That's for the future. Okay, so just to go up and down, just hit that arrow.
Okay. Thank you. Morning. I know you all needed a little break anyway before you started this lovely presentation of mine. Stop it. Well, we survived another year, another great year, actually. Mother Nature was another phenomenal helper on our side for sure this year. So we can't say anything bad about the weather. And I know that usually it goes in cycles, so we're hoping that next year is still in that cycle. But we had, like it says here, we had full midways every single day. We did a lot of great promotions this year, started some new ones last year that were a big success, and found that we're certainly going to continue to utilize those. The $2 Tuesday was very popular, $1 on Saturday for rides, and it just really made a big difference. These folks are able to budget, and of course the pay when price days are the most popular, and those are when your families can come in and buy the ride bracelets. for a set price and ride all day long. We also have a partner that we utilized starting last year with Myers, where the pay-one-price vouchers could be purchased ahead of time, and it allowed people to kind of budget their time at the fairgrounds, where they could buy them for $17, whereas Fair Week, they're $20. And this year, actually, American One partnered with us and was even more successful than the Meyer partnership. They had them on sale on every one of their Jackson locations. So I think it served us both well in order to be able to provide that program. And according to Liz Niles, I think they're on track for us next year. So that's exciting. Mid-America does all the printing of those vouchers. We don't incur any cost in those. So really, it's a win-win for the fairgrounds. And this year was a lucky year because the birthing barn, we had a little bit of a issue with the swine virus that has been going through the farming community this year, and so we were unable to bring pigs to the birthing barn, which is like one of our most popular things at the fair, in the birthing barn. But we really felt it was going to have an impact. It did not, because as you can see, this little calf here, he's one of 6 that was born this year. And I came across the gates on Sunday morning for the opening day of fair, and I came up to the birthing barn, and the first calf was being born. So I knew that that was a good sign for Fair Week. And we had 6 total calves were born throughout the week. So that was exciting. Just a couple of other things here in regards to some of our key points. Our attendance was over 200,000 again this year, so that's always exciting. We didn't break the mark from last year, but we came pretty close, but we were certainly ahead of the scheme for the last few years, behind last year. The still exhibits, if anyone was able to go into the Herman Gumper building, the still exhibits were up again this year. Our livestock exhibits were up this year. So, of course, our premium dollars were up this year, but, you know, that's money well spent as far as I think that we're concerned at the fair in regards to premium dollars. The livestock auction, according to our extension office, record number. I mean, they hit their mark and went way above it this year. So that just kind of shows our community is out to support those efforts for our 4-H kids and that agricultural community, because, I mean, it was a phenomenal number. And I'm not sure if Brittany actually has put it out there, but, I mean, like upped it almost over 100,000 above last year. So hopefully they didn't set the ceiling so high they can't break another record next year. We had some new projects, as always, on the fairgrounds. I'm sure that those of you that were on the park saw the biggest one. The biggest was the new wall that we put in with help from my beloved friends at AT&T. Once again, was right there on track for us and sponsored that wall with help of Wilby, and Concrete came in with a product. It cost. We had a bid of $24,000 to put that wall in, and so I knew when we had that probably was not attainable. But then with the check from AT&T, all the people were able to come in under the check from AT&T, which was $9,000 for that project. So thanks to Stonewall Construction, the Wilby Concrete, the Flag Company, we were able to have a beautiful focal point for the fairgrounds for many years to come. Some of our, all of our grandstand shows, of course, are great, but we had a phenomenal year for our monster trucks, which, I'm sorry, this picture down here in the corner actually was probably the best jump of the night, because that's actually a front-end loader that has to pick that truck up, because a new jump that they put at the north end of the track was the distance they got on the jump was a little more than they anticipated, and actually broke the truck in half. So a ton of fun for everybody in the grandstands, not so much fun for the monster truck guy. But so that picture, I thought, really kind of spoke to the success of that show. And our rodeo, again, this year, we brought back the same company from last year, which sometimes when you're doing the fair, you kind of think that, you know, you don't want to do the same thing every year. But this rodeo was a big success last year, over the top this year. I mean, last year it was a big success, but this year they really went above and beyond. And I believe it's because we had a lot of support from our local ag community and the kids down in the barn area that participated in the different events that they did. A lot of the families came out to support those kids. And we had tractor pulls this year, didn't have any major breakdowns there, but our demolition derby, which ends up the week in regards to the dirt shows, was a big success. Of course, always big at the end of the week, and nobody likes anything better than crash them up. Our music shows, we had Alabama, which was a country show on Sunday night, and then we had the World Series of Hair, which I found to be a very comical name. That didn't pan out for us quite as well as we had liked, but you try things and you see what's available in the industry, and we learned a few things. So, but it was a great week overall with all of our entertainment, and I hope everybody else here thought so too, that those of you were able to grab a show. This is the folks that participated and were part of the wall coming to the fairgrounds, and of course the AT&T support there with our great legislators who support everything that Mr. Mooney does for the Jackson County Fair. And AT&T also sponsored the Veterans Day, so Dave Wellahan is in there because that check kind of encompasses everything. They provided a check that allowed all of the veterans this year to come in for free. We do a reduced gate for veterans, but AT&T does a special push for the veterans program, so they offered to do that this year, which we welcome their support, and I think it was very successful in Mr. Wellahan's eyes too. And there, of course, is the wall. One of the other projects that we did this year, and I don't know how many people have snuck into the Gumper stage dressing room, but it used to be a big, nasty kind of utility room where all of everything from the past 60 years was lodged in this room. And last year when Elvis was getting dressed in there, he made a comment that, hey, can we do something about this dressing room? Well, this was the year, and Andy from Facilities did just a beautiful job in there, and everything was recycled furniture from the different places on the fairgrounds that we used in there. So next time you're in the Gumper building, you're welcome to go in there and check that dressing room out, because this year, John and Junie Cash thought it was quite lovely. For the first time, again, the free gate admission for veterans was courtesy of AT&T, and another first was our ticketing system this year. We were able to actually go to our hand scanners, which is something that we've been working toward, getting Wi-Fi on the grounds and in the buildings, and doing this scanner program at the gates is part of that whole new process in the 20th century in regards to ticketing. So that was a great success, and I think our ticket scanners too thought it was a ton of fun. I know that there was a little bit of a learning curve for a couple of our volunteers, but once they got the hang of it, they thought this was definitely the way to go and no going back. And another first for this year, we were able to expand a little bit of our camping for our 4-H community, and that is we did put in some new camping spots back on our North Street property. We're going to tweak that a little bit for next year. A couple of things we learned in regards to a couple of things that we weren't 100% on that we did learn by the wonderful help from our health department. So they're going to work with us and we're going to tweak that program. But it just showed what the interest in and what the need is to have extended camping for our livestock folks. It's really was a huge plus. I've already gotten phone calls of how to get on the waiting list and get in the lottery for next year, because unfortunately, unless we expand some more, the lottery is the only way we're going to be able to offer additional camping for our exhibitors. And again, of course, the volunteer program for the fair is second to none as to why I think that we are a growing success. And we just, every year, I'm just amazed in how people have put the whole week of the fair now in their yearly schedule, and they've stepped up to the plate and made a big difference in the how our patrons come and view the fair. They love to see those people in those blue shirts, and everybody wants one. And this is just a couple pictures, a couple people here that you probably recognize at the pie eating table. Our own Chairman Shotwell, one of the judges. I'm sure he probably will never eat pie again, at least not for a year. Senator Moffs felt the same way, and he said after 2 years he just couldn't do it again for a while. But we had a lot of fun. It was a very positive year. A lot of good memories were made there, and that's the important thing. But one thing I mentioned at department head meeting, which it just really. It makes me feel really good and comfortable about what we've done at the fairgrounds is really because of a lot of other people here at the county level. So many department heads, so many different departments have become such a huge force in putting our fair on, not only with the Parks Department, because, we're all on the same page. But facilities, the road commission, I mean, so many entities, the health department, all I make one phone call and just ask for a little help, and people are just, they're there and just really made a huge difference. And it's just amazing how much positive and how much needed support there is just right here on my own little directory that's county level. So that was really nice to see this year. And I know it's been there every year, but it just seems like we had so many needs this year, and I had so many folks that stepped up to the plate to help us out. Is there any questions?
Commissioners? Julie?
Thank you, Denise, and thank you for all you do. You do an awesome job. The media reported in August at another local fair, not the Jackson County Fair, but another local fair, that there was an incident where 2 individuals fell out of the Ferris wheel. I then also heard a report, and again, I don't know that this is necessarily true, but I did hear it on news media sources, that one of the young individuals took a crutch with them into the cage of the Ferris wheel as they took their ride, and that's what caused the door to open or the incident to happen and them to fall out. My question for you is, assuming all those facts are true of that incident at another location, what do we have in place? Is that normal protocol? Should someone have stopped them from taking something of that nature onto a ride? Would that have happened at Jackson? In other words, would someone have stopped them from taking an item with them on there? I don't even know if we're talking about the same carnival units, but could you just give me some insight as to what we're doing to make sure that our Jackson residents are safe when they're riding county fair rides?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because actually that is our carnival company, and that was our Ferris wheel actually this year. I had immediately texted the head of the carnival company at the other fair and told him that, that I was sorry that this was going on, and of course we support them. They're a very, very reputable company, and I believe probably what is going to happen, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in a couple of locations, and one of them will be our conference in January, is that what they'll find is there may be some different protocol on behalf of the carnival company. I do know that it was not operator or mechanical error at all on that issue, but I got to believe that at least with Mid-America, and I was led to believe in the conversation that I had with Mr. Houston, that probably they're going to be re-examining a few things as to, what will be allowed, and obviously it's not something that they would expect, and we will be asking for that when we talk to them in January to see what kind of response that they got from the state level and the inspector that came out, and the protocol that'll probably change for the industry itself.
Thanks, Denise. Dave?
Just to comment, along with the calves that were born in the birthing barn on Saturday during the pedal tractor pull, when we expected a lot of 4-H kids to come to participate in the pedal tractor pull, a calf was born in the open dairy barn, and they were all watching that birth instead of being down at the pedal tractor pull, even though we had like 40 kids participate in that.
Phil?
Good morning, Denise.
Good morning.
I know that the veterans admission has been a topic for a couple years at the fair. Some people wanting reduced, some people wanting complete free admission. I was glad it could happen this year, the free admission. Do you know how many veterans participated in that?
Yeah, approximately 430.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Youth Center. Jeremy.
Good morning, everyone. As you can see on the report that I've submitted to you, through August 25th, our stats. At the time of the report, we had 22 residents in building on detention. Of those 22, 3 of them are being waived to the adult court due to the severity of their charges. In our residential treatment program, we had 6 residents, as well as then 2 on homebound status. They're on the back end of their completion and integrating back into their home and enrolling into their local school district. We talked to you about what our daily population is. Thankfully, we're down this year from what we were last year. Through most of last year, our average daily population was over 24. Our maximum capacity is 24. So you see right now for, again, through August, our daily population is 22.7, up from 22.2 in June. One of the things that we've talked to you in the past is we used to call it the hit list. When we have 24 beds and we go into a weekend or an overnight and the police bring in either someone that has a juvenile warrant or they have the police have interaction and need to lodge that resident because of, that youth because of the crime that they may be committed, we have what we used to call a hit list. But we haven't really looked at that hit list and really see what the ramification is of that. We have retermed the terminology and call it priority release. I personally didn't like hit list. And so priority release in my mind gives a clear reason as to why we are releasing this resident. The probation department and the court staff, they look at the population and they determine whether a resident is toward the end of a time if they're just serving straight time, or the severity of their charges, whether they're in on a probation violation or there's some other, they may release on a tether or in-home contract. They make those determinations as to who goes on that priority release. So starting in June, we've started documenting and just keeping the stats on those that we release on priority release. And since June, we've had to release 12 residents because of overcrowding. We met over 24 beds. Unfortunately, of those 12 residents, 4 have been returned to the youth center, and it shows that the new charges that they were returned on. So we have a youth that was released, brought back in because he got caught with an entry without permission. We had one that was carrying a concealed weapon. We have one that, due to domestic violence and a felonious assault that occurred, and then another one that was picked up for shoplifting, retail fraud. I tell you those just because of being mindful of us needing to have to release residents and the youth because of the limitations that we have within the 24 beds. For detention, our average length, yes.
Being juveniles, is there alternatives to release, such as tethering or other items that we could use to continue the incarceration, but maybe in a homebound environment?
Yes, the probation department currently does utilize tether as well as an in-home contract, depending on the severity of the charge. One of the probation officers oversees the in-home detention and tether program. They have volunteers, a lot of times through colleges, will come and do in-home checks to verify that they're in their home for that. The tether depends on whether they have phone service, and there's a cost to the family that is given to that. And so some residents are not eligible for the tether program, but I believe, if I remember correctly, they have 8 to 10 tethers that are available that they do use when a resident, either prior to coming into the youth center or sometimes on the back end if we need to open up spaces. Average length of stay right now for a resident on detention is 22.6 days. The average for boys is 26.9, but then for girls are 17.2. So far in 2014, we've had 273 residents that we've admitted. And again, it shows the 204 males and 69 females. That's kind of the grim part of what we do, but we also try to work with the youth to provide skills and the ability to better themselves. And one way, and I've talked to you before about the Youth Arts Alliance, and we're really working on trying to give the youth an appropriate way for them to express themselves. And I spoke with you, I believe, in April about the recording company that came in, and the youth were able to do some original work. This Friday, we are having a album release event and art show over in Washtenaw, because the program that we work with, Youth Arts, they're housed in Washtenaw. So we're excited about the opportunity to get that release and hear what the CD and the music looked like, or is going to sound. Also, over this last couple months, we've had a muralist come in and work with our youth, and they created a 4 by 24 foot mural that we will be hanging in our dining room. Once that gets hung, I will show pictures to you in December when I report next out. And that mural is being transported over to Washtenaw this week to be showcased in the art exhibit on Friday. We've also worked with a mosaic artist and created a 3 by 11 foot mosaic. And just seeing how the kids have worked with this and having something tangible that they can show, and they helped with the design, and they came up with the rising sun, because their thought process was each day is a new opportunity. What can we do with this each new day? So we're looking forward to getting that installed in the facility as well. Then finally, I want to thank you for approving the lease with Rise Above. I've been working with Neil Fernandez, the director of that new program, very closely, and I'm excited about the possibilities that are to come with his work and coming alongside and helping the youth with literacy and working with us. So I just want to thank you for investing in that as well.
Thanks, Jeremy. Commissioners, any questions of Jeremy? Julie?
Jeremy, can you give us an understanding of, if the average stay is 22 days, how would Rise Above incorporate improving the youth's literacy skills, academic challenges that they may be facing? How would that incorporate in that 22-day average stay?
Yep. One area that we're going to be working heavily on is our residential treatment program, and those kids are here between 6 to 9 months. So the average day is 22 days. That's on detention, but then our treatment program, where the kids stay longer, that's going to be where a heavier component is. Now, we also identify some of those, the average, with averages, you have things that are skewed on each side, so we have those waiver kids. They're there for a long time. And so those kids that we know are going to remain with us for a while on detention, we will have them be involved with the literacy piece as well. And so sometimes it's going to be a guesswork on how long a resident's going to be able to stay with us, but we kind of have an idea due to the severity of their crime, due to the lack of family support and their frequent flyer, if you will, that they've come back in several times. So then we'll try to work on giving them into that opportunity to work on that literacy piece.
But then I could probably also make the assumption then, even after they're released, or maybe no longer involved with your programs, they would still be eligible to continue on after they have cleared everything up on a
Correct, yeah.
Delicious.
One of the things we're working with the probation department as well is when they are released, have that opportunity to continue with the services, and it may be at some point that's part of their probation guidelines as well.
That may be an option?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
All right, thank you.
Scott, Swains Lake County Park and Campground.
Good morning.
Before you, you have a request that was, last week was approved by our Jackson County Parks Commission, the opportunity to go into a contract with Jones Enterprises, and also request from Agency and Affairs and the Board of Commissioners an additional up to $75,000 of funding to replace the current Swains Lake bathhouse and restroom facility that was constructed back in 1980. Part of this would also come into compliance with ADA compatibility and accessibility to the facility, which currently is not able to be done. If you have someone in a wheelchair or has some type of an impairment or disability, they have to be assisted into the facility and helped with, and that actually occurred this year with one of our campers. So that'll bring that into compliance, but also the opportunity to upgrade the electrical, mechanical components of it for LED lighting, waterless urinals, and also on-demand heating for our water system, so much more energy efficient. So what I'm requesting or asking for is up to $75,000 of funding to then go into agreement with Jones Enterprises for a contract of $223,000. So the additional funds I'm asking for is actually a little over $63,000 with a contingency fund of about $12,000. Part of that funding also will come from Michigan DNR and a recreational passport grant for $45,000, and our Parks Association is contributing $15,000 in that. So it's been in the works for a while, and I'm hoping to be able to move forward with it this season.
Okay, and it'll be going to the full board. Julie?
Thank you. Absolutely. Your last point is very valid. The residents of Concord, Pulaski Township were told over a year ago that this would have taken place a year ago, and there have been a lot of hurdles that have been overcome to get to this far. So I'm also pleased and want to just make reference to this bid by Jones Company. Not only was it the lowest, it was the only local bid as well. And
Correct.
I think that is worth merit.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to send it to the full board. Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Got it. Claims, I believe, have gone around. We'd need a motion to pay those. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. There's no other minutes. The October reporting schedule is there, and it brings us back to public comments. Hearing no public, committee member comments. Hearing from none of the committee, we're adjourned. Thank you.